Okay. So we're going to be looking at cladograms, and then you're going to end up drawing your own cladogram. So again, cladograms show the relationship between species of either them having a certain characteristic or them not having a certain characteristic. So what you have to realize and remember is that your characteristics are on this line here. Okay, so for here, we have our characteristics of wheels, motor, passenger enclosed, or wings. And every time you have a branch coming off, if that branch is to the left of the characteristic, then that thing, that species, whatever is up here, does not have that characteristic. If it is to the right of that characteristic, then it does have that characteristic. Okay? So that is the important part. When you go to draw your own cladogram, you need to remember that your characteristics, if the thing is to the left, it does not have it, and if it's to the right, it does have it. So at the end, the very last one up here is going to be a species or an organism that does have all of the characteristics. The first one only has, or either doesn't have any, or it only has this first one if you have one to the left of it. Okay. So if we're looking at bicycle, car, motorcycle, airplane, and on foot, and we need to put those in our cladogram on top. So our first characteristic is wheels. So we are going to look for the thing that does not have wheels, because that is going to go to the left of wheels, and we're going to put this in our first box. So which one of those does not have wheels? On foot, yes. So on foot is going to go in this first box, because on foot does not have wheels. Now, what is our second characteristic? Our second characteristic is a motor. So now we're going to look at what does not have a motor, and whatever does not have a motor, we're going to put that to the left. So what does not have a motor? A bicycle, a traditional bicycle, does not have a motor, so it goes to the left. What is our third characteristic? So which one of those do not have passengers enclosed, and therefore are going to go to the left of that characteristic? Motorcycles do not have passengers enclosed, so that one's going to go to the left. And then finally, we have wings, and our last two options are either a car or an airplane. So which one of those do not have wings? Car. So your car is going to go to the left of wings. And finally, your airplane is going to go to the right of wings, because an airplane has all of these characteristics. So the airplane, the one that has all those characteristics, is going to go to the furthest right. The thing that does not have any of those characteristics is the furthest to the left. And as you start getting species that do not have those characteristics, that's where your branches branch off. Okay? So number 3, examine the cladogram above. Which trait separates bicycles from airplanes, motorcycles, and cars? So what is going to separate these 4 modes of transportation? No, hold on. Motors, yes. So you're looking at the thing that, what is the characteristic that one of them don't have? So you're looking at bicycles, and then you're looking at airplanes, motorcycles, and cars. So airplanes, motorcycles, and cars all have motors, but bicycles do not. So bicycles is the thing that separates these 3 lines from this line. How many traits in common does the airplane and the motorcycle have in common?
2.
So the motorcycle and the airplane have what 2 things in common? Wheels and motor. So there's 2 things. They both have wheels, and they both have a motor. So those 2 things are the only 2 things that they have in common. What is the point where 2 objects break away from each other called? So these things, where your species, where your organisms, whatever you're looking at, where they start to branch off, those things are called nodes. So each of your intersections are called nodes. These up here are called your clades. So basically your groups of species or organisms. And then right here, usually you should see a black dot or something. This is where your root is. That is your common ancestor. So your root is to the furthest left. You have your nodes branching off to where your species do not have those characteristics. And if they do not have those characteristics, then they're going to go form their own clades. Okay? So which mode of transportation may be considered an outgroup? An outgroup is a group that has none of the characteristics labeled on the cladogram. On foot. All right. So now what you're going to do is you are going to draw your own cladogram, and you are going to draw a cladogram comparing 4 different species. You're going to compare humans, snakes, monkeys, and mouse, or mice. But what you're going to do first is you're going to look at that table, and you are going to put X's on what characteristics those species have. And then, if you read number 8 carefully, number 8 says that you are going to put those species in your cladogram, but you are not going to use the characteristics in the table, because it's not going to work out that way. So you need to come up with your own characteristics that are going to be able to easily put those 4 species, human, snake, mice, monkey, into that cladogram. Okay? So what you have to remember is that your species are going to go up here. So you're going to have mice, human, monkeys, snakes up here. If they are to the left of the category or to the characteristic, your characteristic is going to go on this bottom line. If they are to the left of that characteristic, then it does not have that characteristic. If it's to the right of it, then it does have that characteristic. Your thing up here in this top right-hand corner should have all of those characteristics. So you need to come up with characteristics that are going to separate those 4 species. Whatever species has all those characteristics are going to go here. All right? So that is what you're doing for number 8 and 9. And then 10 and 11, you are answering questions based on your cladogram that you make. So think of your characteristics, make your cladogram, and then answer the 2 questions on the bottom. And that is what you're doing today.